If COVID-19 wasn't dominating the news right now, what would be some of the biggest stories be right now? The US government wanting to ban end-to-end encryption. It's fucking stupid. What I've heard is that companies that continue to use end-to-end encryption will be stripped of their Section 230 protections. They will then be responsible for any illegal shit found on their platform, which will really fuck up every social networking platform, because there's gonna be illegal shit on there. Companies that comply and remove their E2E encryption will keep their Section 230 protections, but essentially open up their platform to a host of security vulnerabilities. As a cybersecurity enthusiast, I should point out that a ton of its supporters seem very uninformed on the benefits of E2E encryption. It's a stupid idea. Edit. For those wondering why the government is even considering this, it's because the bill supporters claim it will bring child predators to justice. It's a stupid idea that won't work, and I honestly don't see how anyone with the slightest bit of clarity could think otherwise. They want them open to security vulnerabilities so it's easier for the government to secretly take data from them. While that is certainly true, even people as dumb as US senators should be able to grasp the idea that if you make a hole in the wall of a bank to let the police in quicker, then bank robbers can also go in through the hole in the wall. It really is that simple. But you're supposed to put a sign over the hole that says "Authorized persons only." That way the bad guys can't use it. The US government trying to pass an anti-child porn law that actually just gives them the ability to search through all of our messages, and also bans end-to-end encryption. If you know anything about internet security, you know that would be devastating to literally everything that's based online in any way whatsoever. Wait, what? Nobody would be allowed to use end-to-end encryption? Yep, which means that the government and anyone who's decent at using computers could get into any person or corporation's secrets if they are able to intercept a message. Normally it's not a problem because of end-to-end encryption. And if the government can, anyone can. We will only let good guys have access. Elderly people who don't understand technology but want access to read all our communication. This is worse than forcing you to hand over a key to your house to the police. But hey, if you aren't breaking any laws. The nearly 2-year-long Ebola outbreak in the DRC has ended. The last patient to be treated has survived. Wow. I was worried about this a couple of months ago, but then the pandemic that must not be named took over my attention and I forgot about it. Incredibly brave people fighting Ebola. Such a scary disease. Yeah, the people that get out there to treat patients are some of the world's biggest heroes. I can't imagine how scary it must be to be living in a place with an Ebola outbreak going on. Thank God it's all over now. That was the last bit of positive news I got before all this started happening. The 2020 presidential election. Never thought I'd be thankful for a pandemic. This comment's going to age real well. Fine vintage. The only politics I want to hear are which toilet paper barons I'm going to sacrifice my rations to get that sweet TP. Oh, Grug the toilet paper baron of the West was slain by the forces of Bulby the toilet paper baron of the East, and we are now living within his domain. Don't care as long as my water flavored ration tax isn't raised. Seriously, who the fuck is going to win? I really thought Trump was gonna win easily, but now with all this stuff, who knows what's gonna happen. Economy turned to shit, plus who knows how many people are gonna be dead in the next couple months. Wonder if the blue collar will turn their back on Trump. The former king of Spain and his Swiss accounts. Wow. That is crazy. Seems like it's the perfect time to get away with whatever you want. Friend of mine works in accounting, and he said his company is planning on seeing a massive spike in fraud with all the bankruptcies expected to occur. People trying to sneak under the radar, so to speak. Not sure it's trying to sneak under the radar versus the jig being up. Like if I embezzled $1 million and things are going well with the company, I can cover it up. The accounts have $1 million less than what management thinks. but the business keeps operating. Suddenly a crisis hits. The company needs to spend that million, and there's no way I can conceal that it isn't there. Boom. Fraud detected. This is what happened to a previous boss of mine. He wasn't letting us write off uncollectible invoices, usually duplicate invoices, so it looked like a lot of money was owed to us. Then a downturn hit and the board wanted to borrow against the large accounts receivable balance, but couldn't because the bank did an audit which showed those invoices are all uncollectible. I had to quit the job because he kept trying to get me, the accountant, to say those invoices were collectible, but I simply wouldn't, because I knew they weren't. If I'd have known why he wanted me to lie, I would have gone above him, but I thought he was just an idiot. I would hope the locusts plaguing East Africa, the Middle East, and the Indian subcontinent. It's describing some swarms as being the size of New York, and they are eating their harvest, threatening widespread famine. I think without coronavirus we would mobilize to try to control this population the way we did for Zika carrying mosquitoes in the Americas. Edit. This NPR article describes how in 2018 an unfortunate series of cyclones from the Indian Ocean hit an extremely remote area of the Arabian Peninsula known as the Empty Quarter. This produced extraordinary rain and gave them what they needed to breed. Because a second cyclone hit occurred during their breeding cycle, instead of drying out and having most of their population die out in the desert, the population exploded. In favorable conditions they can multiply by 400x their population every 6 months. Then they mass migrated. Also for clarity, a swarm was identified as 3 times the size of New York City. Plagues, wildfires, locust. I know things like this happen, but definitely getting some apocalypse vibes. Don't forget the major earthquakes. Just one horseman at a time please. That's not how the apocalypse works. Probably the oil price war actually. Saudi Arabia is trying to force the Russians into cutting production, since they won't play ball with OPEC+, and US shale might pay the prices we need high cost for this entire industry to function. I'd argue right now that, if COVID wasn't happening, neither would the oil price war. They can only drop the price of oil super cheap, because demand dropped through the floor. It probably wouldn't have happened, you're right. The additional cuts stemmed from the declining oil demand due to the virus. Had there been no virus, oil demand would most likely have adhered to projections, and cuts would have remained stagnant. Something Russia probably would have agreed to. Edit. In response to the people saying the price war started before COVID-19 really took off, that's technically incorrect. China was already heavily impacted, and the cuts were in response to the reduced demand from that country specifically. Everything that happened afterwards was icing on the cake. For reference to just how much China alone fuels the oil industry, the last major boom was in large part because of China's Industrial Revolution, as depicted on this graph. https://www.slowest.org/media/publications/regional-economist/2016/april/lead_figure 2.jpg. Without China's massive industry bustling per the norm and growing at anticipated rates, things can start to crumble quickly. Didn't the thing started before the coronavirus became the crisis it is right now, though? Yes, but the reason the Saudis were trying to get the Russians to cut production was because of decreased demand resulting from coronavirus and its impact on industry. One of the main routes into downtown Seattle, the West Seattle Bridge, was closed yesterday because cracks in support beams made it structurally unsound. It will take several months to fix and will not reopen until it's done. This would normally destroy the entire Seattle commute, but it happened right now, so it's barely even a blip on the local news. Real talk, this was probably the best possible time for this to happen. Real talk, they likely knew about this for a long time and were waiting to find a time to close it. My new favorite conspiracy theory is that COVID-19 was created by the Municipal Transportation Authority in Seattle. Don't be ridiculous. The government actually created COVID-19 to keep people inside while they change the batteries on all the birds and work on fixing the Wyoming facade/Wyoming Bicentennial. That Putin changed his country's constitution so he can be president until 2036. I think we've all known for a while that dude's going to leave power in a casket, and not a moment sooner. I mean, he could go the North Korea route, having him as supreme leader forever, and the person running the country just be like the prime minister. For some reason Russia likes maintaining the illusion that they're still a democracy. Probably because certain other world leaders still continue to fall for it. Even North Korea pretends to be a democracy. No, seriously, it's in their name and they hold elections. They even have multiple parties. ISIS bombs Sikh place of worship in Afghanistan. Oh man, bombing the Sikhs. I know it's ISIS, but come on guys. Most Sikhs are literally the nicest people. They have being kind built into the religion, and have rocking beards and turbans. My old boss was a secret alcoholic, sadly also a Sikh. He used to hide tiny whiskey bottles from his family under his turban. He was a genuinely sound guy, and a good boss too. So he was a secret alcoholic. That joke was disturbing. Enthroom case in Korea. Telegram porno sexual slavery ring with 74 victims including underage girls. The Telegram groups has estimated at least 10 to 30,000 subscribers. The Enthroom perpetrators are accused of luring victims, including minors, into sending sexually explicit photos and videos. In some cases, this escalated to using blackmail to force victims into increasingly violent acts, including sexual assault. Absolutely disgusting. I'm surprised that this news didn't get bigger internationally. Edit. Reporters at Cookman Ilbo observed about 25,000 users across 30 such chat rooms. One of the guys in charge of the rooms has had his identity revealed, and the rest, one other main guy and the people who participated, are being investigated as of right now. Reports are saying that a few high-profile celebrities, professors, and athletes are some of the 260k involved in the viewing and/or distributing of the illegal contents, which is unsurprising considering the entrance fee to access these rooms were between $300 to $1,500. Hope justice is served, and served well. Korean law is known to be very forgiving for sex crimes, so I hope things change with this. Article 1 for the Lazy Seal, March 23rd, Yonhap. More than 2 million people have signed an online petition as of Monday demanding the government unveil the identity of a man who allegedly ran a group chat room where photos and videos of violent sex acts involving underage victims were distributed. At least 74 victims are known to have been exploited in the so-called Enthroom case, in which a man surnamed Cho allegedly lured victims into taking naked photos and later threatened and exploited them into more gruesome sex acts. Cho, who used the nickname Baksa, which means doctor or guru in Korean, is accused of distributing the videos in a group chat room on the messaging service Telegram, where at least 10,000 users are suspected of paying Cho to watch the videos. Police have so far tracked down 124 people in relation to the case, including Cho and 17 others who have been formally detained. The user who is suspected of first creating the chat room, however, still remains at large. Astronomer here. We might have a bright naked eye comet next month in the northern hemisphere, our first since 1997. Comet C/2019 Atlas Y4 is brightening really quickly, and by May, might be one of the brightest things in the night sky. I mean, comets are notoriously tricky to predict in brightness, as it might just break apart as it gets closer to the sun. But it's really exciting to think about, albeit no one has heard about it because of the pandemic, though granted, doesn't a pandemic need a bright comet? Edit. You might be able to get it in binoculars right now, or at least have fun trying. Here is a star chart for it. And yes, The last bright northern hemisphere great comet was Hale-Bopp, which was up for about a year to the naked eye. If you were a southern hemisphere resident in 2006, however, you probably remember Comet McNaught. Edit 2, because many are asking, that bright star in the evening sky is actually Venus. It's around its peak brightness and height right now, and you should go take a look, if your social distancing allows it. Might as well take a break from Netflix, and look at a whole "nother planet." Edit 3, no, there is no chance of the comet hitting us, or affecting life on Earth beyond potentially getting bright. You know what? I'm really excited for this, thank you for that information. It's amazing to me, the simple fact, that this is impossible to implement. But that's not enough to stop them. It's one of the most disruptive acts I have ever seen. Bunch of old dumb people making rules without even remotely understanding the implications. Right, as soon as someone like Apple or Amazon gets hacked, and loses millions or billions from a leaked iPhone schematic or something, this law would stricken down immediately with a huge settlement from the government. This not only fucks smaller companies and users, but will also throw away millions of tax dollars. All because some old fucks don't know how the internet works. Apple and Amazon might just pack up and move to greener pastures if this passes, I'd think. That, or split their US operations from international operations. Either way, they have powerful lobbyists and deep pockets.